Ayun! Game. Okay. So, welcome sa ating unang laboratory activity. So, this is our web application development. So, after this presentation, we will be having our first activity sa class natin. So, but before dyan, check muna natin yung mga terms at saka mga terminologies that we will be using. So, sa entire series na to. So, as you can see, na-discuss ko na kanina sa live about why do I have to use Adobe Animate para sa web app development natin. This is not purely animation na klase. So, but for us to be able to utilize everything na tools and advanced at magamit natin lahat ng features ng isang web app is kailangan natin balikan yung basic na animation meron sa Adobe Animate, which is kailangan natin magawa yun. Although nag-animation na tayo, so hindi na magiging mahirap ito sa lahat. So magiging basic na lang ito. But iba kasi itong Adobe Animate na gagamitin kasi may pagka 2D lang siya, hindi siya ganun ka-complicated like 3D animation sa Blender. So mas easy. Okay. So, for this presentation, our objective is to understand the Flash and then the animation. We would be able to learn the Flash development environment. So, tingnan natin yung environment ng Adobe Animate kung ano-ano yung mga pwede natin gamitin. So, creating our Flash animation sa discussion sa layers, different layers and then timelines, and then creating your basic animation using Adobe Animate. So, we will be learning how to publish our animation as well as the same time in the web pages and using Flash to create an embedded multimedia. So for this chapter, yung topic natin is more of for the stage, yung canvas or stage is the same, mga tools panel, then timeline, how are we going to use the timeline, and then properties panel, the library, then getting around the Adobe Animate. So bakit Flash? When I was in college, Macromedia pang tawag dito eh. Then nag-innovate na lang din siya. So, naging Flash long time ago. Then, ngayon, Adobe Animate na yung tawag na term talaga sa kanya. Kasi yun na yung software na ginagamit. Wala na kasing Flash, wala na rin kasing Macromedia. So, Adobe Animate na. Of course, our exercise number 1 or laboratory activity later after the presentation. And, of course, demonstration. So, what is Flash? So, it is a standard for creating animation, which is it is a sequence of web pages. So same yung parang GIF na sequence of images on the number of frames that we have. So parang familiar naman tayo sa animation. So that's Flash is all about. So in the other term, Flash is an authoring tool which allows to create anything from a simple animation into a complex interactive web application such as mga online store, advertisement, mga Facebook ads, and then mga plugins is ginagamit dito. So when we make an Adobe Animate application, which is we add pictures and sounds and video at the same time. When we author the Adobe Animate, we work in a Flash document or Canvas document, which is a file that when saved, it has a file extension of that FLA. So when you are ready to deploy your Flash content and publish it, we are creating a file with the extension of that SWF. So pag na-edit pa lang siya or editable pa siya, just like a Photoshop na file extension is .psd, same dito sa ating Flash na ang file extension is .fla. While pag raw data naman na siya, like you have that rendered data. So parang JPEG file or PNG file. So in an Adobe Animate, we have a file extension of that SWF. So Flash as a project or a plugin and a projector. So Flash authoring tool. So ang format niya is nasa-store to sa isang HTML document which is napapublish to sa web pages natin. So that is why I am using the Adobe Animate kasi it still translate dun sa pinaka-course outline natin which is web app development. So yung mga gagawin natin ditong activity can be rendered and published in a or in an HTML document or in a web pages. So parang di lang halata but games and application that we will be contributing will be used for the web app. So we have Flash plugin. So marami tayong Flash plugin ngayon sa web browser na iba't iba yung objective, iba't iba yung mga tools na ang tools at purposes nito. So isa sa mga gusto ko is yung parang parenting tool, okay, na nagagamit ng mga parents for the children. So yan yung mga plugins that we could use in the web browser. So ang Adobe Animate is isa sa mga ginagamit in creating plugins in the web browser. And then we have a Flash projector, which is a stand projector that do not require a web browser. So if you wanted a file that are executable or with a file extension of .exe, so Flash projector tawag natin doon. So we could create a standalone game in a Adobe Animate environment. So multi-purpose, ang daming purpose ng Adobe Animate natin. So marami tayong pwedeng gawin. So what are the appropriate use of animation? So when we animate, we explain the abstract concepts. Diba? Yung mga hindi nauunawaan na i-explain natin dito. I remember Yolanda. Okay? Yung Yolanda, yung storm surge, binabanggit na magkakaroon ng storm surge na ganito kataas, which is everybody don't understand what is storm surge. Hindi naiintindihan, hindi naunawaan kasi hindi nila nakikita. So ang animation is a proper way of explaining abstract concept para madaling maintindihan ng mga viewers kung ano talagang ibig sabihin nun. Which is normally ginagamit din to sa mga news, like sa TV Patrol or sa like 24 Oras, gumagamit sila ng mga abstract animation to explain mga complicated things. So we could create subtle special effects and transition in using this platform. Of course, creativity and playfulness para sa mga website na multimedia site or mga site ng pangbata. So, explain a series of events in the process of follows a specific timeline. Advertisement, ginagamit madalas to. So, as bilang IT, we would be able to use this one. Very useful sa pagiging multitasking natin. It could draw attention of a detail of pictures in making it move. So, we do not use animation normally when for the sake of just doing it. Di naman natin ginagawa ng walang purpose. Lahat naman na ginagawa natin may purpose, may pera. So, we do not force user to set through a set of sequence. We always provide an exit or way to turn it off. So, hindi pwede yung animation natin walang katapusan, infinite. So, laging merong ending. So, overdue animation, hindi rin maganda kasi pag nawawala yung goal natin, hindi okay yun. So, there are critical analysis of animation, mga poor animation. Example, you could see this link to check it for yourself. And mga examples natin before entering site na may mga website na purely animation. Usong-uso to way back mga 2000 to 2008 na puro animation yung website. So, pero ngayon medyo minimalistic na tayo. So, what can Flash animation include? Vector-based graphic yung animation natin. Ano ibig sabihin ng vector? So, when we use size like 1920 to 1080, yung gagamitin nating size sa screen natin, or 2560 to 440, it actually doesn't matter. Kasi yung nagagawa nating mga graphics and content dito sa ating environment ay vector naman, which is scalable. Infinite scalability, parang kumbaga, kahit gaano kalaki yung gawin mong object is nagagawa mo, hindi nawawala yung or hindi nababago yung pixel niya. So, malinaw pa rin. So, ginagamit to sa mga bulletin board, sa mga EDSA, yung mga tarpaulin sa EDSA malalaki. So, vector siya. Parang AI din natin. So, hindi nawawala yung quality ng content. It can be moved and rotated na hindi na nasisira yung graphic content natin. So, embedded fonts can be moved, resized, sketched, or squeezed, or rotated, recolored. So, it can be re-edited along the way. So, sa sound naman, synchronous naman yung sounds ng animation natin per frame. Tumatanggap din naman siya ng .mp3. So, for the software, I already given you a copy of the software that we could use. So, I hope na download nyo na lahat yun. So, para makapag-start na tayo. So, ang Adobe Animate is dalawa. Meron tayong design environment, mamaya makikita nyo, which is for graphic tools. We could lay out all the characters and we could lay out our objects and multimedia. And at the same time, this is one thing that I'm looking forward for our entire class is the scripting environment. Nagdi-design tayo ng content natin pero i-program para mapagalaw natin ating mga animation. So, we will be using ActionScript 3.0 para dun sa programming part ng ating Adobe Animate. You could download the free trial version dito sa link na to. Dati kailangan talaga yung Flash Player para magamit itong Adobe Animate na to. But for now, hindi naman na masyado. So, by default naman yung mga bagong PC ngayon is automatic na meron na kaagad na install. So, mga flash files. So, ang flash file natin or mga movies natin is file extensions.fla, which can be created and design version of your animation. Na-edit pa to. Okay? So, ito yung pag nagsasubmit kayo ng file sa akin for checking, you have to include the .fla file. At the same time, the publish file, the .swf file. Dapat dalawa lagi. Hindi pwedeng isa lang kasi I would be checking the entire content of the project yung na-edit pa natin. So, ang publish file naman, which is .swf extension, di na pwede ma-edit, of course, can play on most operating system. So, fairly small file lang naman to. So, hindi siya masyado mabigat tulad ng Blender natin. So, yun yung pinaka-skip natin dito. Or advantage, maybe. So, ito yung icon ng ating .fla at saka .swf. So, punta tayo sa development environment natin. So, here is a regular, parang Adobe Photoshop lang din that we have a toolbox. Then, this is our toolbox. And we have our stage, or normally, some professionals are calling this one canvas. So, create daw tayo ng canvas or gaano kalaki yung stage mo. So, we have the properties panel. So, dito tayo gagalaw at kikilos ng sobrang dami-dami sa ating properties panel. And some other panels that are usable. So, we have our timeline. Ito yung timeline natin. So, where we could create multiple layers at the same time. So, mga maraming layers. And then we have our basic frame rate per seconds, which is sa property panel natin. So, ang basic natin by default is yung pinaka-classical na default, which is 24 frame rate per seconds. So, ito, naka-essential yung mode natin, kaya parang nagbago yung design kasi dito yung toolbox kanina. And then, ito naman sa kabila na. So, marami naman kasing environment style yung ating Adobe Animate, depende kung saan kayo komportable. So, pwede nyo rin i-resize or customize depende sa gusto nyo. Then, isi-save nyo. Importation ng mga components natin. Sa stage, mamaya sa stage natin, doon tayo gumagawa ng mga actions natin. So, we have to make sure na yung stage natin, yung dimension before you create ay tama. So, tulad ng tinatanong natin pag may nagpapa-edit ng mga poster, anong size yung gusto mong output or pag na-render na. Kasi ang hirap gumawa pag maliit tapos malaki pala yung kailangan, mas madali gumawa ng malaki tapos i-convert natin ng maliit. Diba? So, we have to be mindful lagi sa size ng ating stage kung anong properties. But the default normally is 1920 by 1080 yung lagi natin gagamitin pag isang web size or parang isang laptop na screen yung laki. Pero may mga activities tayo na mobile version naman, kaya ng mga 420 yung size, you just have to follow kung ano nasa instruction. Sa layers, like any typical layers, we are all familiar with this one. So allow us to separate the stack objects, create a sequence of different scenes in a layers. So like a transparent pieces of paper stacked to each other. So, mga layers natin. Sa timeline, of course, every layer has a separated timeline. So, layer 1, meron kang thousands of layers. Bawat layers na to, meron ka rin 1,000 timelines. So, timeline is broken into frames that is corresponded to different time in our animation. So, when we select a frame, so the stage shows what will appear in the layer in that specific time. So, frame 1. sa stage or sa frame 1 sa timeline na to. Okay, may specific design or layout siya. May mga playheads din tayo, which is this shows the current frame that is playing. So ito naman ay ang ating active layer. For example, then you have here an eye icon, which is we could hide. And then we have the lock icon. Maganda kasing ginagamit natin lagi ito kasi nakakatulong sa mabilis na pag-edit ng ating animation. Of course, you have the delete, then you have the insert layer here sa part sa baba. And you have here the frame rate per seconds at kung gaano nakatagal yung ating timeline. 4.9 seconds. And the layer control, okay, you have the layer name. So we have to rename lagi yung ating layer. Pangalanan natin ng proper. Like this layer is for the codes or for the action script. This layer is for the background, or this layer is for the buttons. And this layer would be for the sketch or for the guide. So we have to rename the layer properly para hindi tayo mawawala. At pag may nag-edit yung kaklase mo, kasi may mga group activities tayo, madaling sundan. So, what else? So, layer name, insert layer, insert layer folder. So, para organize. So, add motion guide, pag-delete ng layer, show hide all layers are all basic, which is madali na lang tong sundan ng kahit sino na mag-i-explore na IT na tulad nyo. So, sa timeline natin, ang default natin is 12 frame rate. And an item won't appear in the movie at a particular time unless its layer has a frame at that time. So, pag sa frame. Playhead indicates that the current frame is playing on the stage. Normally, kulay pula tong playhead na to. Sa keyframe naman, specific keyframe, frame that defines an object at a given point of time. So, meron tayong dalawang keyframe, yung empty keyframe or the empty circle saka the filled circle. So, pag empty circle, walang content, then yung filled circle naman is yun yung may content na frame. So, when you make a new layer, it's automatically has keyframe in frame number 1. For our timeline, okay, you can change the way frames are displayed in the timeline as well as display thumbnails of frame content in the timeline. So in our timeline, it shows where there is animation in document, including frame-by-frame animation, twinned animation, and different kind of animation such as motion path. So ito yung playhead natin. So yung sinasabi kong kulay pula kanina. So makakita natin kung saan tayo in particular frame. So ayan, then nasa 1 second tayo ng ating frame. So ito yung filled keyframe natin, which is may content. Tapos pag blank keyframe naman tulad nito, so wala siyang content. Okay. So we have our toolbox, different properties in our different tools in our toolbox. We have the line tool, pen tool, oval tool, pencil, ink bottle, eyedropper, hand tool, and many more to mention. So lahat to is nagamit na natin before at nagamit nyo na sa Adobe Photoshop Movie. So familiar na tayo dyan. Ito yung properties panel natin. So ang size nito ng font by default is 12, and then we could have our paragraph format, letter spacing, and then what else? Marami pa. So margin nandito din, and many more to follow. Sa library, isa sa pinaka-favorite ko, and just like any library, sa library na term is, this is where we could store all our media elements in our flash content. So parang isang library, nagsistore tayo ng ating mga data or mga content natin. Kaya nga lang dito sa ating Adobe Animate ay lahat ng klaseng content or materials is nilalagay natin. So, but sa library, meron tayong tinatawag na symbol. Mamaya ma-demo ko yun kung ano yung symbol. So, ang symbol ay pag nakikreate na natin yung isang content sa library natin, and then kino-convert natin to instance, every time kasi na lalagyan natin ng actions or animation yung isang object natin is, ang tawag na doon is instance. So, name given a copy of a symbol used for a movie. So, every time you drag a symbol from a library onto your stage, you are creating an instance of a symbol. So, para mabuksan ang library, Control L lang. So, we have the current layer, current frame, current scene. So, we have here our dimension of our properties kung gusto nating palitan pag nag-start na tayong gumawa na ating canvas. So, using library. So, again, symbols are what you put in the library. Lahat ng nakikita sa library ay tawag dun symbols. Picture man siya, MP3 man siya, or kung anong shapes man siya. Then every time we recreate the symbols and use it or reuse it in our canvas, we are putting it in a term na instance na. Ilang instance yung meron tayo sa stage natin or ilang instance meron tayo sa canvas natin. And frames and frame rate. Ito, scrubbing. May term tayong scrubbing. I-demo natin ito mamaya kung paano mag-scrubbing. So, in our animation, it is a series of still images, which is each image is called a frame. So sa Flash, in the Flash environment, our frames are the rectangular cells, yung pinakamaliliit dito. Okay. So if you click and drag a current frame marker into a timeline all the way from frame 1 to 20, so you will see a quick preview of the animation. Then this technique is called scrubbing. So nagsa-scrub tayo. So the preview you will see depend on how fast you scrub. So for example, ito, gagawin natin ito mamaya. So punta tayo sa ating Adobe Animate. Okay. So sundan natin to. Sana hindi naglalag sa part ninyo. So I hope you have downloaded already the copy of the presentation. Okay, I'll open my Adobe Animate. So welcome sa ating tools na gagamitin ngayong entire SEM. So sana ma-enjoy nyo ito kasi ako, isa to sa mga favorite ko na very simple lang siya. Okay? At enjoyable siyang gamitin. Walang ka-pressure kay Sir Brick. So huwag kayong kabahan kasi madali lang to. Okay? As in, may enjoy natin bawat content na gagawin natin dito.